Hello and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Sachin Prabhat, Vice President of Consulting at Tiger Analytics, a leading provider of data and AI services. There's a problem that's plaguing the enterprises today. Organizations have amassed significant amount of data, and yet many leaders cannot act with confidence. There's this chasm between data and insights. Today, we'll explore why this gap persists, how to fix it, and what does it look like in practice. We have with us Ujjwal Sehgal, Global Head of People Analytics at Mars, and Rachel Belino, HR Data Officer again at Mars, to talk about this very pertinent issue. Ujjwal, Rachel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sachin, and CDO Magazine and the Tiger Analytics team for giving us the opportunity to come in and tell our story at Mars of what we are doing and seeing in this space. My name is Ujjwal Sehgal. I lead the People Analytics function here at Mars, where we are looking at our associate data and solving real-world problems that we see for our business. I'll hand it over to Rachel.
Thank you, Ujjwal. So thank you again to CDO Magazine and to Tiger Analytics for hosting this podcast. It's a pleasure for us to be here. My name is Rachel Belino. I'm the HR Data Officer that runs a team called P&O Data Office within Mars, within the People Analytics function. So just a little bit more about what my team does, because in some analytics functions, you may not find my team. So I think it's interesting to know exactly what we do. So we have a global remit and we cover four broad areas. One is data quality, the other is data security, the third is data privacy, and then a large area that I hope we're going to get into in this conversation called data enablement, which covers data governance on our analytics data platform, as well as the data platform itself, which is where we bring people analytics to life at scale, including the data engineering and all of the processes and technology that go along with that. So again, a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Again, great to have you guys. So let me start with you, Ujjwal. This gap that I talked about as I started, right? I have been talking to a couple of my customers, and this problem continues to exist, right? And it's not like it is a new problem. It is a problem, but it has amplified a lot, right? As the volume of data has increased, and as the more and more data is kind of coming our way. Still, it feels like the insights are not always within reach, and there's not that degree of confidence. Just want to hear your perspective of why is that case?
Well, that's a great question. And, I look at it from two different angles, right? So one is, just even getting some of your basics right. And, people always talk about it, you know, have we clearly defined what the business problem is? Do we clearly know what the hypothesis we are going to actually use and solve this problem? Then do I have the relevant data? And then the other bit is the data bit, which is also there's a misnomer here that, you have tons of data, but is tons of data good data, or relevant data? So, you could be, and, people talk about data lakes, etc. Many times they're not lakes anymore. They become swamps. There's irrelevant data that's sitting there. It makes it very difficult for you to actually get the true data that you need for you to solve this problem. So, it's true that there is this gap that exists. Some of it is truly the user led, where they are not able to clearly define what they're looking for, what is the business problem. And then the other bit is, even for you to solve that problem, many times there can be gaps of the data not existing, or it might take you time to even stitch that data together, just because sometimes data is sitting in different systems, or even if you've ingested it into your data lake, they're sitting in their own silos, or getting access to some of that probably can also become a challenge for the data team. So I think it's a little bit of a mishmash of both that leads to this. But I believe the industry is making progress in this space now, where again, your data scientists are also becoming, and data engineers are also becoming, the true business personas, where they are also able to clearly understand and many times help the business users understand, or frame the problem as such, so that way then they can clearly see what data they would need and sort of fill this gap. it's a little bit of a journey. I don't think we are there yet, but I think that the right steps have been taken for us to actually move in that direction.
No, absolutely, and I think those are the things that everybody's kind of tinkering with that, right? And would love to kind of know more about how you guys are dealing with that situation. Rachel, maybe if I can ask you, right? What are some of the things that you guys are doing, right, to kind of address this problem? Because this is a very, very hard problem to solve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I still remember in the beginning in people analytics when we were really trying to deliver value very quickly for our stakeholders in terms of creating the insights through our solutions very quickly. And of course, what happened is, we had data scientists bringing the data in, also playing the role of data engineers, bringing the data in that was very specific for their product. And then lo and behold, before we knew it, it becomes this case of one product has this data and then another product would like to use that data, but because that data was built for that specific product, it can't really be used for another product. So think of that, times 50 to 100 times over. And then you've got that situation that you talked about in the beginning, Shachin, which is now the data is somewhat unusable and there's that chasm. So it does boil down to blueprinting what a scalable and sustainable ecosystem looks like for data as an asset and how it can be used along an entire analytics product lifecycle. So one of the things that we've done here, and it's still obviously a work in progress as we continue to evolve it over the years, is we've set up our data engineering processes. So that's something that is, followed by our teams. We have the right capabilities and the roles aligned with that to bring in the data from ingestion and transform it all the way through. So just setting that up in and of itself really helps us to, unlock, data. At the same time, too, there has to be data governance over it. So when there's many engineers that are working on bringing in this data, there has to be a role, there has to be people that are looking at that and seeing, oh, is that data perhaps something that can be reused? Is it commonly being ingested? Are we creating those redundancies in our data such that that's pretty inefficient and then will lead to different interpretations of the data? So having a governance role over that and being able to spot where we can make data reusable is another big aspect, I think, of, filling that chasm that you're talking about.
No, absolutely. I think what really resonated with me was this point about building a scalable and sustainable ecosystem, right? I think that is key to kind of make sure that you're not solving only for today, but what you're solving for, right, serves you well, right, for perpetuity. And that's a very, very tall order. Let me double click on some of the pieces that you're mentioning, Rachel, right, especially around this data ecosystem. What are some of the key dimensions of this data ecosystem that you're referring to? If you can explain that a little bit more for our listeners, that would be great.
Sure. I'm hoping that something that resonates with the audience is the concept of data reusability.
Absolutely.
So how is it that in order to solve the problems that we're looking to solve for with the data, do we have many different versions of the data all over the place? So there is that concept of, think of it as, you can even think of it in terms of the environment, right? How you're recycling or you're reusing things. And then that allows it to be standard and common across. So one of the things we've done in our evolution is we started off with turning the product specific data into what we called reusable data sets. So I think that that's a big component of a data ecosystem that's needed for analytics. The second piece of that is, are you able to govern over that, which I've mentioned before? And the technology has come a long way in the space where there's many different tech enablers that can help you govern the data. And so that's another component of an ecosystem to put into place is So if you have the people that can do the data governance, is there a way that they can use a technology that's applied on top of your data to allow that to be easier to govern? And also for the users of your data, so all of the engineers and the data scientists that are in our ecosystem, they have to be able to obtain knowledge of what the data is very quickly. Imagine a world that we have today where we have many different product teams or project teams working on data. It's either net new data that we've ingested and or newer teams that are coming in for a specific period of time to work on a particular project with our data. They have to be able to know what data exists very easily and very quickly. They also have to know what are the definitions and the lineage of that data so that they can understand, again, is it going to help them solve their problem? So I think another aspect of an ecosystem is that tech enabler, but also, the way for people that are working in the ecosystem to understand the data quicker.
Well, this was great talking to both you, Ujjwal and Rachel. Thanks for your time. And we're looking forward to kind of collaborate further.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone.